and welcome to another episode of Scanning the Market. This is a real numbers-driven episode with the CEO of Xaid, Kirill Lopatin. I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, you probably have the same problem as me. You speak to everyone and they assume that you're probably, well, I have the problem of looking about 36. So
I have a problem of looking like 18, so yeah, I have much more problems, I guess.
yeah, I get. Well, yeah, that's a problem, I suppose, because when you come up to people, they think you're a child. But I mean, shit, you've done a lot for 26. Did you?
Thanks.
I saw one of your posts. You didn't study radiology or anything, right? Like you just. What made you?
I'm a full I'm a full tech guy without any medical background in terms of studies.
So were you like brought into Xaid like to be the technical guy, or how did that sort of end up shaping up?
So actually, originally I'm Russian, and before the war, I was building AI in radiology space in that country, and then we successfully exited that company. So we actually started when I was 19, personally. And I was actually the first CTO of that company, but then I moved to CEO role once we understood that like we can hire more programmers and I can do sales, fundraising, and all that kind of things. And once we transited to Xaid, I was just like co-founder and CEO from the very beginning.
Do you prefer being like hands-on on the keyboard, or do you like enjoy this wider role?
You know, like right now, like a month ago, Claude Code came into the world and future has come. And before that time, actually, like for previous like 2 years, I was not doing any programming or any kind of stuff like that. But now I'm doing all the CEO stuff, plus I'm vibe coding every day in like 8 different windows, because like it's insane what is happening right now in the world.
I am the least technical person, and I even like similar to what you guys. I think we spoke about this previously. Like we built like a scraper, so I guess similar to yours using Python. I mean, I have no idea what Python is. I thought it was a snake.
But you don't have to right now, because Claude Code can do everything without you.
Yeah, and I mean, it got to the point where the tech was evolving so fast. Obviously, we do recruitment. It's not about technology, really. It's a people industry, and we even hired we've got a software engineer that we hired. Funnily enough, he sold me a phone at Apple, and he just started speaking to me, and it turns out he's a developer from San Fran. And he's now building out all of our systems, and the stuff that we can do. It's mental. It really is insane. Yeah, I guess my question that I was really interested in: what made you pick radiology as opposed to, I mean, countless other things?
Yeah, because like I have a personal story of missed pathology on CT scan when I was young, and it actually made me feel that we should somehow fix that with AI. Because actually, I was building several different startups before that, but they failed. And then I had that personal story with missed pathology, and I decided why not to try, because it was before all that fancy chat GPTs, Claude, and all that kind of things. So only hardcore ML models and all that kind of stuff. And we just decided that's the same AI, but for 3D space, and seems like we understand what to do. Yeah. And that's actually how we started the company.
Yeah, and so what I find interesting is it seems like you've had, and I mean, we'll get into what like Xaid is like down as we continue chatting, but it seems over the last few months, I know we spoke, and looking at all your posts, you've transitioned from like, I don't know, being like an AI company almost to like I don't want to say workforce, but like a solutions sort of company, right? You're like actively providing solutions. On a lot of your posts, you talk about burnout, turnover, and just general like workload. And I think a lot of people who listen to this and the people that I speak to are directly involved and affected by like the radiologist shortage. And I guess my first question is like, do you believe that there is a shortage, or do you think it's just more of a workflow problem, like diagnosed as a shortage?
I mean, I think it both. It always both. The truth is somewhere in the middle. So I
Yeah.
think that shortage obviously exists because,
Yeah.
like, I speak with many companies right now who are as an ex-aid, and I see that some of them, especially small ones, cannot hire radiologists for years sometimes,
Yeah.
and that's insane. There are no markets in the world where this happens.
Yeah.
And regarding the workflow, yes, that also exists because there are many problems inside the outdated systems inside radiology that is very hard to fix, to be honest, because you have like so many software inside, so many old protocols and so many things that is like very hard to change
Yeah.
because of many different factors, also because of regulatory, because of like medicine is slow by itself and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it is usually the combination of two things, like shortage, which
Yeah.
obviously exists, and I just feel it and see it and hear about it from people from the market with whom I speak, and definitely from the workflow itself, because it
Yeah.
is like the workflow itself, it's not only stopping radiology to become more efficient without AI. It
Yeah.
also stops AI itself to be implemented proper way, because it's very hard to just like throw AI into workflow and say, okay, it just have to work right now.
Yeah, talking about it is it's a mixture of both, and I think if you don't have, you can have all the resources in the world, but if you don't have enough people to actually use it and implement it, then you're always going to have a problem. But I feel like, I don't know, at least from what I hear, it's all, we never really talk about a technology problem. It's always just talked about radiologists like shortages. Burnout is obviously like 50% of physicians suffer from burnout, right? Turnover, I think, is 61% in the last decade. Direct correlation there. I think, I don't know, maybe more can be addressed on the software side, but maybe it's a radiologist thing. Like maybe they need to be a little bit more receptive and a little bit more open to some of this new technology coming in to make their lives easier. They say, you know, I spoke to a radiologist last week, and he was talking about how a lot of the times they just ignore the new technology that comes in. They just turn an eye to it, basically. And perhaps I think as you know, people in our generation come through, where they're more software adept and they're more, I guess, open to new technology, maybe it'll become a little bit easier.
I mean, my view on that situation is actually a bit different because like when you have Cloud Code, for example, everybody is using it because it's
Yeah.
just so seamlessly integratable into your life, and it is so powerful that it doesn't depend actually on whether you are young or you are old. Everybody in the world are using it
True.
right now.
Yeah.
The problem with radiology is that, and with the medicine in general, is that in the end of the day, there is a patient whose
Yeah.
life should be treated and should be saved, and that's the problem of not the problem, but it's just like the equation of medicine, because you have to treat the patient, and when the life should be saved, the
Yeah.
stakes are much higher, and you cannot just like take Cloud Code and say him, hey, treat this patient, treat this guy, I don't know, like just
Yeah.
vibe coding something. And that's why medical people and radiology people especially are much more concerned in terms of adopting new technology. And the
Yeah.
second thing is that radiology itself is a very tough thing, because there is no chat GPT still for CT scans, for example, because the technology is very tough for this, because there are 3D scans, the variation is very huge, the data sets are small. So the level of technology there for radiology is still lags compared to something for legal tech or
Yeah.
fintech, something like that. So there are two aspects here that I described. Yeah.
Yes, you say it lags. So I guess if you were running, I guess, a radiology group, do you think, and you mentioned hiring as well, what would be the first thing you'd try to fix? Would it be hiring, or would it be the tech, or I guess the workflow? I guess workflow probably consists of both of those, but where do you think the priority should be?
It depends. So you mean like I'm running a team of radiology, or I'm CEO of big
Yeah.
teleradiology group?
Yeah, Kirill's radiology practice.
Okay. So depending on the size, to be honest,
Sure.
because if Kirill's radiology practice would be 100 radiology team,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I would do right now, in my mind,
Yeah.
I would go to the market, find strong technical team, and acquire them.
Yeah.
because definitely what I see is that many M&As happening right now. You saw Glimmer, plus
Yeah.
you saw Cognito was acquired by Red Partners, and the thing is that I think everybody now in the market understands that it's impossible to create future in terms of like chat GPT for CT
Yeah.
or MRI scans without having massive expertise in medicine
Yeah.
and massive separate expertise in tech, and
Yeah.
they should be like together.
Mm-hmm.
The future is not in buying the future is not in buying like external products, but creating yours. Because if
Yeah.
you would take, for example, two teleradiology groups and one acquire the technical team, another is not, in like 2, 3, 4 years, the first one will come out with VLM, which will dramatically drop their costs, increasing their margins, and the second group just won't be able to compete with them in terms of pricing, and they will have to buy this
Yeah.
from them, and they already lax for 3 years in terms of this technology. So
Yeah.
if I would be the big practice, I would find the technical team and buy it. If I would be the small practice, to be honest, it's very hard for me to tell what to do them, because I still don't understand, because they struggle for everything right now, because
Yeah.
it's very hard to be small practice right now in terms of the market. Um, in terms of hiring process, it's very hard to fix it by itself, because you just don't have enough people there
Yeah.
in the market outside, because you cannot pay as high as paying like a bigger practice. You just cannot find them. So it's very hard. It is very hard to fix that. Maybe you can do something like, I'm not sure if it's possible. Maybe you can do something like residency program if it's
Mm-hmm.
possible, but I'm not sure if it's possible and it's easier. So I would definitely be focused on tech sites if I would be a small practice right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I mean, what Radnet has obviously done with, I know they're out buying everything because they have the resources to, but I mean, it's very, very smart. And then I mean, if you're those companies being purchased by Radnet, however many practices they have across the US, your software is now deployed in, right? Like that's like I mean, it's a win-win for everyone. I have no idea how much they've spent. I don't really want to know actually how much they spend, because it's probably a crazy amount. And we're obviously talking about the workload. I saw in one of your posts you said that the tipping point is like 13-ish thousand RVUs. What actually happens like to a practice when they cross that threshold? Is it just like it starts to crumble, or like is it just yeah?
So yeah, it seems that after they cross these numbers, there are no, I mean, these stats were calculated based on the RVU from the market, and I think that it was from their experience, from the market. When somebody crosses this tipping point, he just like starting to burn out much more quicker, and
Yeah.
that's why it's much more productive for a company to retain their employees,
Yeah.
not to cross this tipping point, and just to be somewhere in the middle of it, so not to lose the team. And because you can push everybody to work more for
Yeah.
1, maybe 2 years, but then after that you will just lose the company and just lose the team, and you will have to spend insane amount of money on hiring new ones,
Yeah.
and it's just counterproductive for that.
Yeah. And I guess talking about burnout, and one thing I like about following you is there's tons of stats, which I think is important. I think in where everyone has an opinion, it's important to be able to show ROI, right, and be able to show value. One of the stats that you shared that I found interesting was AI scribes. They save 16 minutes, but 21% burnout reduction. Obviously, 16 minutes isn't, I guess it's a relative amount of time if you add it up. But what actually is, in that circumstance, AI fixing? Because that doesn't seem quite correlated. 21% is huge compared to 16 minutes.
Yeah, that's true, and that's the interesting thing because like everybody was trying always to calculate this like accuracy, sensitivity, ROI on turnaround time, and all that kind of things. But it seems that there are many metrics that are secondary, and you
Hmm.
cannot actually calculate them easy. But maybe AI in medical space, especially, influences them much more than the
Sure.
first level of metrics. And I think and actually we don't have enough studies right now and papers on that. But I
Yeah.
think in next few years this will come because everybody is stuck in. We are trying to calculate these ROI things for turnaround times and costs already for several years,
Yeah.
and we do not see any pushes forward on that. So
Yeah.
probably we should switch to secondary metrics to check what's happening with them, and maybe the answers are there.
Sure. So I guess it seems like not that we're measuring it wrong. It's just we're measuring on the easiest way possible, the easiest way to explain we're saving 16 minutes. But if we are, I guess, measuring it wrong in the long run, and time saved perhaps isn't the most important metric, what do you think potentially should be or will be in the future?
Sorry, you asked what are the metrics that will be calculated in the future? Will be right.
Yeah, what do you think if time saved isn't necessarily the most important metric, what do you think will be?
So from what I see from XA standpoint right now, also
Yeah,
we save time, and our clients saying yes, you save us time. But the most important thing here is that the workload on like their mental workload decreases, and that's why they are saying us thank you, not because of time. And that's
yeah,
the interesting insight that we found recently, because like one of the clients, doctors, came to us saying, yes, that's great. You're saving us like up to 40% of like reporting time for some of like big CT scans with
yeah.
prior reports. But the most important thing here is that I feel much more easier doing this
Mm,
exams with you because I now trust you after we like build trust with them. I now trust you, and
yeah,
I can rely on you in these hard cases. And we didn't calculate how much burden we save for him in terms of the
yeah,
mental health, but that's the actually the thing why he's saying thank you, not because of
yeah,
time. And that's the interesting case. So yeah, I think that turnaround time definitely will exist always.
yeah,
It's very objective, and it's very easy to calculate. But what are the will be the secondary metrics is definitely the mental burden
yeah.
itself. Maybe besides the mental burden, what could be also maybe some metrics showing what is the persistent in terms of the productive level for certain radiologists, because you know like when he is like getting older, for example, or so we have to calculate stats maybe in terms of dynamics on several years to see
Yeah.
whether his dynamics changes, and maybe we will reveal that like with AI, for example, if he reports 40 CT scans right now with like number of misses of like for example 1%,
Yeah.
he is persistent with AI for 5 years with the same stats. But if he is doing that without AI, as he
Hmm.
getting older, he's getting more tired. For example, he's
Yeah.
getting more he's getting just more tired and less focused. He's
Yeah.
getting like for example more mistakes, or he's like reporting less studies now per day. So yeah, we just need like longer periods, I think, with the AI implemented, because AI right now being implemented actively, but we
Yeah.
still don't have these long stats on that.
Yeah. I think it's just time. Everything's moving so quickly. We expect everything now. The hard thing is like some of these things I think are still unquantifiable, but people aren't going to buy something unless you can show a quantifiable sort of increase, right, or an improvement. And I think the other thing with AI as we start to get into that is obviously time, but accuracy as well. And there's, you know, hundreds of algorithms that can improve accuracy and time, but they still fail commercially. And they have hundreds of pilots and they still fail. Why do you think, as someone who has a successful AI, why do you think some fail?
Because the truth is that a lot of AI increases detection quality, but just like 1% of them decreases time, to be honest. Because when I speak with the clients, the truth is that everybody's saying, hey, this like fancy AI things that can flag, that can triage, yes, they save us, like they increase our detection quality, definitely. But
Yeah.
they're too narrow to really provide us value in terms of the time. And
Yeah.
that's why actually we decided to switch to this ready to sign, to this ready to sign thing, because we see that without comprehensive reporting, you cannot save any time. You cannot like cover 30% of reports, for example.
Yeah.
It still doesn't have big impact on that, because we started from that. We did like 15 pathologists saying like, yeah, hey, we are the most comprehensive chest CT AI in the market, but it still wasn't enough for radiologists. You have to cover like 90, 100%.
Yeah.
And that actually helps in terms of the time. And that's why a lot of AI failed, because like it's good when you can increase detection quality, but it's very expensive because you have to have like 50 of this AI to increase detection quality for all the study. And what actually is needed because of the shortages is not detection quality itself, to be honest. We need to process CT scans faster because we need to process more of them. So the bigger problem is in time. So that's why many AI fails, because they are just not solving the main problem that exists in the market right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think many improve accuracy, but they don't. It's unfortunate to say this, but they don't improve economics. And economics is obviously more patients through a scanner, right? And the hospitals aren't, you know, I know it's bad to say, but if one more patient gets diagnosed that perhaps would have been missed, it's great for that patient, but for the hospital, are they going to invest thousands and thousands of dollars for the chance of maybe finding one extra patient? You know, it's unfortunately, it's a business, right?
Right.
And, you know, I think another number I saw is 95% of AI never reaches production. Why do you think that is? It doesn't reach that next stage. Like, what actually kills the pilot, I guess, inside the group?
Because you have to put metrics that really influences economics. Because when you come to hospital saying, okay, we now gonna do pilot with you, and it will like, we are committing on, for example, 90% accuracy. Then after the pilot has gone, everybody's asking, okay, 90% accuracy, how it translates to anything, and they're coming to their rats asking, what do you think on that? And I'm pretty sure that in half of the pilots, rats even were not using AI at all, because nobody was working with them and the process was like broken. So the number one thing here is that you have to put right metrics in front of your client together, to align on them, to tell them why, if you commit on these metrics, how it will influence their processes and how it will bring them additional money in different ways. So I think the biggest problem is in metrics right now. That's why most AIs are not getting to production, just because nobody sees value from it. It can be valuable, but the problem in negotiations and aligning on the goals inside the pilot.
Example I like is, I don't know if you know, there's a French company called Therapixel. They do breast AI. They introduced like a little widget, and it's essentially tracks all the relevant numbers, you know, workload, XYZ, right? And they run it for a couple of weeks, and they track, you know, the average numbers of the practice or the hospital. And then they install their solution and run it for 2 weeks, and they compare it. And you can actually see all of the clear and obvious sort of increases or where it doesn't increase. And I mean, it sounds so basic, but if you just take like a metric-led approach to the doctors, I think it helps. The problem is, and I guess you'll know more about this from me, who owns that ROI internally? Like, is it you, the vendor? Is it your job, or is it the radiologist, or is it the leadership?
It's a combination of both, I guess. I can give you a brief example. We were onboarding one of the clients several weeks ago, and we were negotiating with them first that we gonna commit on metric, which will be like 90% of reports are not being editable at all from what we provide to them, radius of sign reports. But then we quickly understood that they have so many RADs inside and so many standards, because all the RADs, even inside one company, they usually reporting in different styles, and it's very hard to align for all of them. So what we switched from is to pathology-wise level. So we introduced them, we told them this problem. Hey guys, like you see that your rats are satisfied with the product, but you see that we are not hitting this metric. So and we won't hit this metric because you have so many rats and so many subjective standards inside. So let's maybe switch to pathology-wise level. And we introduced our new system that we get our report, final report from our client, and then we parse them and compare pathology to pathology, showing that, for example, for 80% of pathologists, we're fully concordant, that they are identical in final report and provided bias. And only 2 out of 10 pathologists, for example, were edited. And this means, in old paradigm, that meant that the study failed because they had to edit it. But in new paradigm, it means that for 80% of time that was spent for this report, they were just okay. And only for 2 of them, they made some stylistic changes, for example. So it depends. You have to adjust, even within the one pilot, you have to adjust with your client and their rats to see how you can find this middle, which will be okay for all stakeholders. So there is no one point inside the ROI. Inside the ROI thing, it should be in the middle.
Yeah. Okay. And so obviously you've worked with a lot of practices who probably get it wrong and don't understand. They're still not adopting the solutions and the software. But I guess a radiology group that gets AI right, what does that actually look like operationally compared to one who perhaps doesn't?
I mean, the main thing are people who are pushing it, because all the systems are always wrong inside, because there are so many things that can be broken inside. And the thing is that team should be ready for it. So team of the client should be ready for that, and they should be ready to push that forward, because even that because rats are overloaded in every company. And your team should be enthusiastic about this AI, and they should also push rats to be able to work with these broken things. Because if rats exist somewhere separately from technical team inside the company, nothing will happen. Absolutely nothing. So the thing is that enthusiasm of the technical team and their ability to push medical team to help them to adopt AI with them. And I think that's the number one thing about the AI readiness inside, because nobody is AI ready in terms of the technology, because you have hundreds of systems inside, you have hundreds of protocols, and the thing is that you just have to be fast in terms of connecting dots and fixing broken things.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a separate point, but from our experience, whenever we advise companies on who they should be hiring, and especially around sales, and you've probably learned this having to do sales, right? I always say AI salespeople, I guess enterprise salespeople for lack of better term, they have to be like project managers, because you have to really get finance first and foremost on board. Well, I guess the doctors, they have to be excited first because they're the ones who push, but you need to know how to get finance on board. You then have to know how to get IT, cyber, like a lot of the companies we work with, even some of the big ones, the bit they struggle with most is cyber. But we've done a lot of hires recently for solution up, like cloud solution architects, because these big companies are losing deals because it's taking so long to get through cyber. And I guess it's probably something you've learned as you've sort of grown. But yeah, a lot of it is getting lost, and there's only so much a radiologist or a doctor can push, right? They want a product, but they probably want tons of products. So it's trying to get past that.
Yeah, the question is is an infrastructure team how fast they can provide these testing products to their team also. Yeah, that's a very good point, because if your rats are enthusiastic about AI, but you cannot implement this AI fast, they will just say, okay, guys, we're just going to do our work come back once the infrastructure is ready. So that's absolutely true. Infrastructure should be also ready. Infrastructure team should be also ready to be fast in that things.
So I guess then onto Xaid, what actually is it that you? There's a lot of mess, right, in this industry. What is the bit that you're trying to solve in particular?
So what we are providing is ready to sign CT reports, which are full in human readable format, and we are trying to make it as clear as your radiologists are doing.
Yeah,
And the thing is that with this approach, we really see these time reductions about what we were discussing before.
yeah,
And because we still see that our VLM models struggle with providing full 100% quality reports, we
yeah,
employ people in the end of the loop to refine these reports and provide the highest quality possible to our clients. So they will just like ticking, okay, 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 and signing them off without like spending time. So we are trying to change paradigm from dictating to reviewing,
sure.
because this will actually save time for radiologists without needing to draft reports from the scratch.
Yeah, well, I guess it goes back to your earlier point. They're still doing stuff, but they have to think less. If they can see it in front of them, all they have to do is yes or no, instead of thinking, well, let me take 30 seconds and think, what is this? And it's only 30 seconds. But I mean, I know myself, if I see something given to me and I just have to decide yes or no, it's a lot less taxing.
In ideal scenario, yes or no. In a good scenario, they just have to refine some
Yeah.
stylistic small changes or some follow up, for example, something like that.
Yeah. So where do you sit in the stack? Are you more on the reporting side or decision support, or I guess the general workflow, or sort of across both?
So I would say that it's decision support, something like that.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, I would name it like that. But it's kind of a new category for AI products that has never existed. So we need to figure it out finally together with the industry, because like we are very new
Yeah.
to that, and it's still need to be figured out.
And so what problem are you seeing that gets you in the door? Like, what, when you're speaking to these practices, what's the most common thing that they say that you could help them with?
Increase their capacity first, because there are many small practices that cannot hire rats, for example, and they're capping the flow of CT scans from their clients, saying we cannot
Yeah.
digest more. So we're just bringing them additional revenue on the table, saying you
Yeah.
don't have to hire anybody, we will just like boost your team.
Yeah.
Or there are companies that have huge backlogs that are much more bigger than it should be, and we are
Yeah.
helping them to work with them. So yeah, mostly we're fixing the problem of that you cannot hire radiologists, but you
Yeah.
need to digest more CT scans. That's
Yeah.
the problem that we are fixing.
And so, if you deployed for 12 months, what would a successful deployment look like for you and for the customer?
Yeah, so we have this like pathology-wise metrics, and what we are committing on usually with it depends on the size of the client also, because like there are
Mm-hmm.
smaller clients, and with them, these numbers of pathologies that are not edited at all are much higher than compared to bigger practices, because in bigger
Yeah.
practices the variation is much bigger. So
Yeah.
it usually depends on that. But what we are committing is overall 95% quality of detection. So
Yeah.
we miss less than 5% of clinically significant things. That's
Yeah.
what we are committing on. And inside this 95% of quality, we are having different ranges of grades for pathologists. For example, like grade 1, it means
Yeah.
like the pathologists are fully identical. We have, for example, for some clients, we have commitment on 70%, meaning that 70% out of all the pathologists from all the CT flow are not being edited at all.
Yeah.
And for different levels, we have different distributions. So, and in terms of the outcomes, economical outcomes, what we see right now is that some of the practices are able to increase, to speed up their RADs up to 50%
Yeah.
in hard cases with our solution, meaning that they can like provide twice as more reports as they were doing before.
Interesting. Okay. And I guess it leads me on quite nicely actually to an area that you've I've seen you speak about a lot is obviously the sizing practices, but also the backing of practices. And I think the difference between P groups and hospitals, right? You know, 1 in 4 jobs in radiology are remote, but in PE, 50% remote. That's why they've got the radiologists, right? Hospitals, what, 13%? And I mean, the biggest thing ultimately, the pay gap between academic and private, it's over $200,000. Like, that's insane. I would work 7 days a week on site if it was an extra $200,000, right?
True, but some of them provide loan forgiveness, for example. So there are many
Sure.
factors inside this salary. So you have to. It depends on your career track, actually, whether you
Mm,
decide to go for example, to start somewhere then to move. So yeah, there are many things that's outside of the salary that can
yeah,
influence the choice also.
sure. And I guess this remote aspect that we're seeing, does it actually solve the shortage and the problems we're seeing, or does it just redistribute it?
Good question. I think so. Actually, this remote model was actually introduced with teleradiology
Yes.
because, like, once the shortage was on that tipping point where it was impossible to survive without any remote things,
Hmm.
teleradiology rised. That's just evolvement of the market. I don't think that is. It's a solution to it. It's just like the next step of how the market will be. I think personally, I think in the future there won't be any rats inside the hospitals except the interventional ones and
Sure.
those who have to be inside.
Yeah.
Everybody will be on teleradiology form, just because it's like it's 10 times more convenient.
Yes.
The economics is better.
Gotcha.
You don't have to go to the work and spend 2 hours of like driving to
Yeah.
the work back and forth. You can just like stay in the at your house and like reading the
Yeah.
scans. So I think personally, it's not redistribution. It's just the evolvement of market how it will be
Yeah.
in the future.
This is a real complete side note. Have you seen the film recently, Project Hail Mary?
No.
Oh, anyway, long story short, it's on a spaceship, and instead of doctors, they just have a robot, like a surgical robot that does everything. Um, and it seemed crazy in the film, but you know, radiologists going remote. I know it doesn't seem it's obviously a far cry, but it's a first step to going towards a place where you perhaps don't need as many people um, in a hospital. And I guess that's what private equity is getting right. And they seem to be, I think, reshaping radiology maybe a little bit faster than hospitals. Maybe because they have more money, or because they have less red tape. Uh, I'm not 100% sure.
I think that they are doing that because their number one metric is how much money are they doing,
Yeah,
are they making, sorry. And that's why they're trying to optimize this one
yeah,
most important metric for their investors.
yeah,
And they're trying to implement new things like AI adoption is much bigger inside the
yeah,
PE practices. Remote is like widespread because you just have to grow
yeah,
as fast as you can without losing the margins. So we have to
yeah,
optimize this any possible ways, and that's why they're in front. That's why they're reshaping the market because they're big. They have a lot of capital, and they're trying to
yeah,
grow, solving this problem with the margin.
yeah. And I guess with reshaping, like in any industry, if you look over history, reshaping always comes with, I guess, natural sort of fear. You know, for radiologists, it's skill erosion. I think 80-90% of radiologists are fearful of that. The number one AI risk, I think, is patient safety. That came from ECR. Um, do you think we're heading towards like a fully autonomous radiology system, or do you think that's just a little bit overhyped at the moment?
I mean, in some time in the future, it will come definitely.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it will come soon because still there is so many edge cases in medicine. There are so
yeah,
many variations. It's so hard to collect data sets with all these edge cases and to test them. And even you can be like 1 million times right, but on
Yeah.
the 1 million first, there might be some small nodule in the location that you were not even pretending to think,
Yeah.
and it will fully kill your system. And so in medicine, everything is evolving much slower just because of this huge variation and
Yeah.
the patient life in the end of the day.
Of course.
So I don't think that we will have autonomous AI in next like 4 or 5 years. Maybe a system will come, but not certified and not used in the production, just because it's too dangerous. And in other places, such as like again legal tech, fintech,
Yeah.
everything will come much quicker. But here in health tech, I think no.
Do you think a radiologist's job in 5 years will look much different to what it is now, or do you think it'll be like similar to what you guys like it'd be coming through into saying yes or no, and they're doing, instead of AI doing the second reviews, it's radiologists, and they're just saying yes.
Yeah, I think everything will change. Will be changed much a lot, and with things that is happening with Claude Code right now, I even do
Yeah.
not know how to predict what will be happening next year. Because personally, in previous few years, when somebody was coming to me asking like, what should we teach our children, I was
Yeah.
saying 100% programming.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't know what to do. Right now, I'm not
Crazy.
recommending anything because like crazy things happen. So I guess yes, in 5 years it will be so, but I cannot guess what will be happening next year because everything evolving so quickly. So it's like very hard to do a bet right now.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at, even if you look at the progress of ChatGPT, everyone used it for LinkedIn posts and writing emails, and now it's building entire company. We see companies being built off Claude and being sold for like billions of dollars, and they're like a few weeks old, and it's like, this is like insane.
Absolutely.
You just can't predict it. And do you think the biggest risk, I guess, for radiology, do you think it's AI failure or AI over reliance or something else?
I think it's more about AI failure because like if we're gonna have like in next like 5 years, for example, the shortage will be much bigger, patients will get much older, population will be bigger, and there will be so many problems that it will be just impossible to process. So if AI will be on the same page as it
Yeah.
now, rats will just have to process twice as more cities by themselves as they do now, and it's just like
Yeah.
we have human limitations inside our like body. We just cannot
Yeah.
do that. So yeah, we will just like have huge problems. So AI over reliance, I don't think it will be a huge problem because we still have these rules that radiologist by himself is still signing off the report.
Yeah.
So he is responsible for that. So there are many, and it's so expensive to be honest to
Yeah.
fail on that. So nobody's gonna do that. Like over reliance is too expensive. You just cannot afford that. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure it will be so in next few years. But AI failure will be a huge problem because like shortages will be much bigger.
Yeah. I don't know what, I'd be interested to know what I guess you might know, but the like the school rates of radiologists, is it going down, or is it sort of maintaining? Do you know? Like, is it going to be in the future? Is there becoming less and less people going through?
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know that statistics, so I don't want to lie right now.
No, I'd just be interested to know if I was speaking to a radiologist last week, and we're talking about how the radiologist role will evolve. Right, if you look at like Ford, like the car company, it went from people using hammers and making the car to then operating the machinery. Right, so the skill sets of a radiologist might go from being able to identify a lung nodule to being able to operate an AI system, right? Yeah, or similar. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. But I was writing about several posts about that because like we need to somehow change the way radiologists are being taught right now because like
yeah,
in the modern world, we are still not implementing these AI things inside the study process.
Yeah.
But it's very important because so to avoid over reliance, for example,
Yeah.
and all that kind of things, because we if we will ignore that, we can just like make the weakest generation of radiologists
Yeah.
who are not yet ready for AI. Or if we're gonna do it too hard, for example, implementing this AI inside the study process, we can on the other side create radiologists that cannot survive without that. So yeah,
Yeah.
it should be, and the study process is very hard. So yeah, we should start right now, I think, because
Yeah.
like it will take us years to refine this process.
Yeah. There's a fine balance, and I guess it's not like a scary thought, but it's. I mean, whoever's in charge of that has a tough decision because, I mean, I think we have the right speed. We're moving at the right speed. If you move too fast, that's when you're going to have that over reliance or failure. And yeah, I guess ultimately it's all about the patient. I know it's easy for us to talk about money and the economics because we're on the commercial side of things, right? But I mean, ultimately, if something fails and you know people start being misdiagnosed, so on and so forth. I mean, what's the point in any of this?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, look, it's been great speaking to you. I know we've spoken a couple times before, but it's nice to get, I think, an opinion from someone who I think you cover a lot of different areas. Like you're not just commercial and you're not just technical. So I think a lot of people will be interested to hear a sort of multi-faceted approach.
Hope so. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. No, of course. And yeah, we'll look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Great.
Right.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much.
Cheers.